I could name over 20 instances where these guys have told me things over a drink that they just wouldn't say on Zoom.
Welcome to Channel Security Secrets. I'm Lou Raban. On this show, we expose the untold secrets and critical insights from the people shaping the future of cybersecurity sales in the Trusted Advisor channel. If you're looking to up your game around selling security, stick around. Channel Security Secrets is brought to you by Cyber Defense Group, on a mission to shift cybersecurity from reactive to resilient. Hi, everyone. I'm fired up to chat with our guest today. He's a serial entrepreneur, cyber expert, and trusted advisor. He brings over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity and enterprise technology. He serves as an industry advisor on the boards of multiple cyber companies and nonprofits. And he also helps Fortune 500 companies accelerate their technology adoption, collaborating with industry leaders, including One CISO, Comcast, and Earthlink. He's currently the president and CEO at SecureX, Victor Cardona. Welcome to the show.
Lou, thanks for having me, brother. Looking forward to being here.
Yeah. So let's just jump into it.
Yeah.
What's the biggest secret to your success in the channel?
Yeah, man. I think it's not as sexy as people are gonna, think it is. It's really face-to-face interactions. So I think that a lot of people are comfortable behind Zoom, Teams, and obviously with the pandemic, it just made things a lot easier, right? Just to have meetings there, and I still do a lot of that, but I make it a point to go out and meet the people that we're doing business with, and I think that goes a long way. Believe it or not, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room, but if you're willing to go out there, invest your own dollars and time to meet these people, you'd be surprised. It's funny. I've recently met with a CISO who said I was probably the third person. This was in September. This was probably the third person that's come out to meet him the whole year.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole year. So, and there wasn't even an opportunity identified. I just wanted to invest in the relationship because, it's a big brand, like top 100 retailers. And I said, listen, I'll go out, man. I want to come out and meet you. And then, that's what happened.
That's awesome. So the face-to-face interaction, how are you getting past that when a lot of companies now have gone fully remote? Are you just going to the town that they live in, or
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
not like HQ?
Yeah, wherever they live, that's all I'm doing. It's not rocket science. I say, where do you live? Let's grab a drink or lunch or whatever. After work, I want to come out and meet you. And I usually know 2 or 3 folks in that general vicinity, right? So I try to, just like with you, right? We got together recently. I was meeting with clients and different prospects. So I try to make my trip efficient and kill like 2 or 3 birds with one stone. So yeah, always just push for the on-site, right? Whether that's at a Starbucks, a sporting event, right? Lunch, dinner, whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that we're seeing that in the channel with all the events, right? Like the best leads we get are the ones when we've had face-to-face interaction, speaking to people, pressing the flesh, making real connections. Because I think you're right. Everyone behind Zoom, like, as this is not reality, obviously.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, I could name over 20 instances where these guys have told me things over a drink that they just wouldn't say on Zoom, right? You get to know these people on a personal level, and then they start saying things, right, that they wouldn't say on Zoom when there's 15 people on the call. So that's, for me, that's gold, right? All the data that they give you when nobody's watching, right? All the data they give you. So that's really what I go for, is to really build that relationship, get to know them personally, bond on a personal level, and obviously get to understand where their head is from a strategy standpoint.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're really, really good at it because you got a great personality, and
I'm all right. I'm all right.
you
It's all
want to
right.
hang
I
out.
hate people. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, whatever.
I just, you know what it is, Lou? Like, I just love people in general, right? And for me, I think the last stat I read is, if you're an A-type personality, you spend like more than half of your life working, right?
Mhm.
So why not have fun, right? Do it with good people, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's what I always gravitate towards. Like, if there's a client, there's a guy, I'm like, damn, I could have a beer with this guy. I'd love to just hang out with him. Like that's what I'm all about, right? Humanizing the whole security approach, being authentic, being keeping it real. The way I'm talking to you is the way I talk to the CISO of a Fortune 20 company. Like I don't care how big you think you are, you're a human under all of that. So
100%, man, 100%. So security, pivoting to security, what are you seeing? You've been in the channel selling security for a while now, and you started SecureX how long ago?
yeah, so I started the company back in 17. Did a lot of moonlighting at the time, and then made the decision to launch full force February of 23. So we're just 2.5 years in a full time capacity.
Yeah, so 2.5 years, you did kinda your market research kinda lightly before you actually had your official
I
launch.
did no market research. I just went in like an idiot.
So what are you seeing? Like, what made you start SecureX, and then what are you seeing, as far as security in the channel and how it's being, like, sold and marketed?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna give you the Victor answer, not the answer I would put on stage at a Gartner conference.
Mhm.
There's a lot of money to be made, dude. There's a lot of money in security, right? So I
Yeah.
follow the cash at the end of the day. And if we could help customers, right, get their time back, right, save them some shekels as well,
Mm.
and make money doing this, I'm all in, right? So I do tend to follow the trends, right? I am very flexible. I love change. I hate being still and doing the same thing for more than 5 years. So I just saw the trends. Everybody was talking about security at the time. Obviously, COVID, right? Everybody's working from home, right? Everybody has access to internal systems, and I just decided to make the leap. And I didn't know much about security, so I have more of a enterprise infrastructure and network security background. Not too much on the infosec side, and I just kind of dove right in. Read as much as I could, and I'm not the smartest dude in the room, Lou. I have to repeat. Repetition is how I learn, right? So they're just in my face 24/7 in meetings. What are folks saying? And continuing to kind of understand what's going on. That's what makes me learn, right? So from a security standpoint in the channel, I do see it trending upwards. I still feel like folks are a little scared, right,
Yeah.
to position security. And what I say to that is just do it, right? Like, what's the worst that could happen, right? Just ask a couple questions, and usually, there's a direct line from whoever you're talking to the infosec lead. It's just a matter of asking if you can get an introduction. You get your security lead on the line or your TSD engineer, and get the ball rolling. You just gotta ask the questions, right? At the end of the day, yeah.
So what questions? Let's say, what kind of, advice would you give to a TA that hasn't sold security and, they wanna get into it, but they just don't know what to ask?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it depends, right? So historically, what I've seen is the TAs are usually more enterprise infrastructure focused, right? Cloud, network, telecom, telephony. I would just ask, hey, who's leading your security, right? And honestly, between you and I, dude, I'm very strategic. I'm gonna go into that initial conversation knowing who's doing that already, so I'm not even gonna ask that, right? Because
Right.
like I said, I'm going in super prepared. I know who runs security through my research and my team's research. I'm literally gonna ask, "Can you introduce me to this guy?" Right? We have a very sophisticated security practice, whether you feel like you have one or not, right? We're backed by X amount of engineers with our TSDs. We've been doing this for large Fortune 5,000 clients because at the end of the day, perception is reality. Can you introduce us to the lead, your security lead? I want to have a discussion with him. That's it. That's it. Right. And you'd be surprised. Half the time they're going to say, sure, let's talk us first. Like, let's see what you're doing, what your capabilities are, kind of your roadmap and what you've been doing, and let's take it from there.
What about that? It's great advice, but I think, especially because a lot of times what the TAs are doing is they're speaking. They have really good relationships with the networking side, the IT side, right? But to jump over to security, it's just kind of this walled garden, or a silo that they usually can't crack. And so they can ask that question, but what kind of advice would you give to them when they're like, the security leader is like, why should I even speak to you? If they don't have any practitioner level kind of experience or anything to immediately offer to that CISO, for instance.
So we have everything to offer through the TSD community, number one. So we have to get out of the I don't know what we can do, right? Stop operating in a bubble. Like I
Mm,
lean very heavily on my internal engineers and my TSD engineers. I don't know everything. SecureX doesn't know everything. before I get on a call with that security leader, I'm going to have an engineer on the line. Now I don't have to personally, Lou, because I've been doing this for so long, but the first year and a half, I always had an engineer on the line, right?
Right.
Especially if it was a security leader. If it's something I'm not too, knowledgeable about, I'm going to have the right engineers on the line to be able to answer those questions.
Yeah.
So do your research the same way you go on Zoom Info and LinkedIn to find out who the network lead is. Type in information security. It's not rocket science, right? There's somebody a direct line across. Once you have that meeting, right, then you bring your engineer on and the line.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Lean on the engineers. We hear that. Yeah. That's what and lean on the vendors, the suppliers too. That's what what we offer, when they're like, just kick the door open for us and we're gonna take it over from there. And then to your point, the TA can actually listen and learn after multiple conversations. They're gonna start to know what to ask and things like that. So I think that's good advice.
and I think, Lou, doing this for the amount of time I've been doing it now, I've been doing this over 2 decades, right? Where 15 years of that has been more on the enterprise infrastructure side, and just the last 3 years have been security. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you from personal experience, it is easier to sell security than it is to sell all the other crap that we can sell in the TSD portfolio. It's just a lot easier. It's more targeted, it's more focused. How do we protect the systems? How do we minimize risk? That's it. You don't have to worry about all these different, tools, all these, but there's a lot of tools, but you don't have to worry about all the different types of tools that, there's a lot of competition, but there's less competition in security, right? Because it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more like you can actually realize and see, hey, these type of tools have better efficacy, like they can protect better than others. Like the proof is there, right? It's not
Yeah.
like you had 8 or 10 different tools saying the same thing now. There's so much consolidation going on. There's usually just 3 or 4 options that you have, right?
Yeah.
So, once you get the hang of it, I think people will see it's actually easier to sell security than it is anything else.
That's interesting. What do you think though about the, kind of product sale versus the solution sale?
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, security is not in its own island, right? I mean, I think the last time I read, there's over 3,700 security vendors out there with over 8,000 security products, right? Think I saw like over 25,000 firms include cybersecurity in their offering and business description,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
There's still like this overwhelming vendor landscape, even in security. But even with that, it's still, my opinion is it's still smaller than everything else that's out there, right? It's not as much. So understanding where they are from a security standpoint, right? What tools they have, right? And like I said, there's so much M&A going on. There's both internally as well as on the security from a security landscape, that there's a high probability that they have 2 or 3 licenses basically that can do the same thing, right? So, understanding where they are, right? And then from a solution standpoint, it's, hey, what are you trying to do? Like, where are you trying to get to? What's that North Star future state look like for you? Bring your engineers in, help them design something that makes sense, right? Consolidate, right? Help them, take it from there.
Yeah. Well, how do you choose amongst those vendors or those suppliers? You're working with a lot of different suppliers in the channel, obviously. And you mentioned there's 25,000. Everyone's saying they do cyber. That's a real problem because it adds more noise. And I think one of the other things that you're talking about, the reason security's a bit easier to sell is because everyone has a need and they don't know what the hell to do yet, even today. And so for certain things at least. And so how do you choose? What's your criteria? Because every IT company is saying that they do security, and that it's not the kind of same kind of security that we do. So how do you choose?
Yeah, so listen, it's a teamed approach, right? Between myself, whoever's, on the SecureX side, or engineers. It depends on a couple factors, right? So we call it our secure align journey, right? So what we do is we try to really understand what is that North Star you're looking for. And if you're looking at these vendors for whatever, ZTNA, right? You're looking at these vendors. Why are you looking at these vendors? Like, how do they even come to the forefront? And there's a couple different things that go into the evaluation criteria, right? It's obviously budget, right? But really, I think the technology stack, the integrations, like how are they integrated into the environment? What tools do they have right now that they need visibility to, that they need to act upon? So all of that, goes, obviously you have to understand what Gartner says, whether you agree with it or not, like it's there, right? Gartner, Forrester, Frost and Sullivan. So having all that data, right, as well. And then listen, we do business with many Fortune 5,000 clients and we're friends, right, with the security leader. So always asking their opinion on, hey, what do you see in here, and how can we best position that with some of our other clientele. So different approaches, right? But for me, it's like budget, tech stack, right? And then timing, right? Budget, tech stack, timing, and then where are they going, as an organization, right? Are they cloud first, right? Are they a Microsoft shop? Are they a Google shop? Like what type of SIM do they have, right? SOAR tools. So understanding the whole scope, then that gives us our data output to be able to recommend the right providers for them.
Let's dive a bit deeper. It obviously it depends on the company, what they're running, and you want to put the right vendor in. But what's your criteria for choosing? Are you just saying, "Hey, I got 3 suppliers here who best man or best company wins," or are you doing some vetting on your end to determine, who are the suppliers that you want to work with?
Yeah, we're definitely doing the vetting in the background. So usually after that deep dive session, we'll reconvene with like my business partner, the engineer. Hey, what are your thoughts on, kind of the company, obviously the type of company, the industry, right? Their compliance requirements, all right. We put all that into kind of consideration. So depending on all that data output, yeah, we work with the vendors first, right, to ensure that they can support the use cases that the client's looking to do. And if we get the 100% thumbs up, right, warm and fuzzies, then we obviously get, pricing, a preliminary design, a preliminary project plan, and have a lot of that data prepared for the client before we even introduce them to the vendor.
Good.
But once we do introduce them to the vendors, we usually let the best man win at that point, right?
Right.
We honestly don't have favorites, right? I know everybody says it, but we're gonna bring 3 or 4 vendors that are all highly qualified, did the due diligence on it, right? Can integrate into the tech stack, have all the expertise on staff, and let the vendors do their thing. I think that's also an issue. We try to babysit everything. If you don't know security, how the hell are you going to babysit it, right? At the end of the day,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, listen, we understand it now. We're the quarterbacks, but we let the vendors do their thing so they can best, because they're the ones that are best positioned to position themselves.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. And but are there vendors that you wouldn't work with? Like, are there because again, I'm trying to help those TAs that are looking for like what is they don't know security. Anyone can say they're doing whatever they're doing in security. Like, yeah, we're experts. Like, what's the criteria that you think these TAs should look for? If they're starting their journey in selling security, like other than a logo, like no one's going to get fired for selling Palo Alto or whatever. But not everyone is Palo Alto in the channel. As a matter of fact, Palo Alto, I don't think is specifically in the channel. They're just a vendor that channel partners use. So, what are some of the criteria that, other than logo and brand, that you would recommend these TAs look for in a security partner?
Yeah. So a couple things. Palo is now in the channel through a couple
Oh,
through a couple
okay,
through a couple of the MSSP security partners that we have, and I know this because we're actively working on a handful of opportunities.
yeah,
Um, Secondly, don't overthink it, right? Let the if you're doing this if this is like your first time doing this, you shouldn't even care about the security vendors. You just should care about getting the meetings set up
mm,
and letting the engineers do their thing and trusting your TSDs that they have your best interests in mind when they're bringing the vendors in. So that's
right,
number one. Stop overthinking it, right?
yeah,
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everybody, right? I have some that I'm not too high on, and I have others that I love, right? But at the end of the day, I don't have favorites. They're all going to get at bats if they're the right fit for the customer, whether I like them or not, right?
hmm
And you won't know that until you're doing this for a couple months and you have, I don't know, 5, 10 opportunities under your belt and you start to get these experiences. Because at the end of the day, from a vendor evaluation standpoint, I won't not bring a vendor in just because their sales team sucks, right? Because I feel like people like us as TAs, we look at vendors like they suck when they're probably really good. They just can't sell the product or the services.
mm, mm,
So I try to look beyond that right? That facade of that first meeting, or my channel manager or my engineer who's weird at the vendor, right? Whatever. I'm not going to not bring them in because their engineers are weird, right? If I feel like they have a good platform, a good services arm, they're going to get the at bat. Because at the end
Mhm.
of the day, Lou, we're not the only ones in that account, right? So if we're not bringing somebody who's best qualified to support that client, another TA or a VAR or an MSSP will bring them in. So if they are the right fit, but just because you hate the channel manager or your comp isn't as high as somebody else, guess what? Somebody else is going to bring them in. So do
Right.
the right thing by your customer at the end of the day.
Yeah. And good advice just for selling security too. Maybe they're selling CCAS or, bandwidth or whatever, and they're afraid to get into security. To your point, man, there's going to be somebody that sells security and the other things that they're selling that could just knock them out. So it's better to, just get in there, get an at bat to your point, and make sure that you're still that trusted advisor to the customer.
So Lou, and this is my experience, right? I'd say more than half of the customers that we have, and we're a newer TA in the ecosystem. Like I said, a couple of years, more than half have another TA in there doing other things,
Hmm.
right? So that's the big idea. If you don't do it, I'm gonna come in and do it. So you might
Right.
as well. One of us is gonna come in and do it. So whether I understand it or not, I'm gonna ask the right questions because if I'm not, they're gonna buy it from somewhere, right? At the end of the
Yeah,
day. So I'd rather risk looking stupid and positioning it and have the opportunity to at least talk about it than not risk it at all and lose the whole sale at the end of the day,
exactly.
right? So same thing with AI and everything with, everything that's going on with AI. There's new tools, right, and platforms in the TSD portfolio. You better start positioning them because honestly, right now I have 55 active opportunities for companies looking at AI implementation, right?
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, now I do, but in the beginning, I was just asking the right questions, right? Formulating different email campaigns, trying to get the interest generated. And guess what? You bring in the engineers, you have that deep dive discussion. Now we have opportunities. If
Yeah,
you're not going to do it, somebody else is, right? And that's
exactly.
the attitude you got to have.
Yeah, totally. So what about some challenges like, other than the easy quote easy sale of hey MDR and stuff like that? What are some of the more complex challenges you and the team are solving right now?
Yeah. So complex challenges. Okay. So securing AI, how do we access AI, right?
Hmm.
Securely. Um, I don't, we have companies that we see right now that are completely blocking LLMs, right? Which I think is a mistake, right?
Yeah,
Because if you block it, your employee is going to go on their personal device and just do the prompts anyways.
exactly.
So, we just have guys that are still figuring out AI governance, like policies. How do we design them? How do we not block them right for our employees to make them more efficient, make them faster? So, a lot of newer discussions around AI security and governance, which I really like, right? And when I say newer, literally within the last 30 to 60 days. And I wasn't BSing you. We have over 50 active conversations going on with different organizations as a wedge in just talking AI. Whether I know it or not, it's a wedge into a new logo, right? That I
Right.
never had before. So I use it as a prospecting tool, right? To talk about it, right? Um, just challenges as a general selling security. I think as you move up market, just like anything, right? You got to deal with procurement, right? You got to deal
Hmm.
with different teams that you probably haven't had to deal with in the SMB to mid-market space. So understanding how to position yourself as a partner, right, with procurement when you're doing these things, I think is important, right, as well. So a lot of different kind of angles you can play when you're talking security and AI.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And partnering with procurement, that's interesting. So are you sending gifts to the procurement lead?
I wish they would allow that, right?
They typically do.
I do wish they would allow that because that'd make it so much easier. Yeah, man, it's just procurement's just a between you and I, the big pain in the ass.
Yeah, we all know it.
And you have to sell to your stakeholder. They
Mhm.
gotta trust you as an organization, right? Once you do that, yeah, let me introduce you to our security lead, right? Then you got to sell them. Well, hey, this is why you should be working with us. And they're like, yeah, but we're a big company. We do everything through procurement. Can I introduce you to procurement? And in my head, I'm like, shit, I got to do this. Excuse me.
Yeah,
In my head, I'm like, crap, I got to do this again. Okay. And the third time. And then they're just like knocking you down. Like, wait, what do? You don't get paid? How are you
yeah,
like agnostic? So, yeah, that's the challenge you got to overcome, right? But be
Yeah.
it having a message to be that resonates with all different stakeholders, I think goes a long way.
So, what are you're going through procurement because you're actually charging fees to do consulting, or are you because yeah, you're obviously going through the typical commission channel with the TSDs, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we don't today, that might change within the next 12 to 24 months, but today we don't charge or for professional consulting.
Yeah, to the
W-
customer. Yeah.
Yeah, as you move up market, a lot of the not just security, but a lot of the technology leaders, they're mandated by procurement that hey, you can't really talk to any vendors unless they funnel through us first.
Oh, wow.
And that's what we've seen. The good thing with our model, right, is and the advantage is obviously we're not paid, right? So we
Right.
don't there's no funding, there's no consulting fees to us. So with our model, it's easier to have that discussion. We usually say, hey, we just need an NDA, right, to get the ball rolling.
Mhm.
Some of the larger organizations have required us to sign like a $0 SOW, right, to get the ball rolling. But there's no MSAs with us, right? There's no consulting
Yeah.
fee.
You're
But
not
they
exchanging cash.
yeah, but the securely is they love the idea, right, of being vendor funded. We're agnostic, right? We have all this data, all this third party evidence. They love that idea, but they're like, hey, dude, we got to get through procurement, right? We got to talk to procurement, make sure they're on board before we really start engaging. So listen, not that we try to avoid that conversation, we'll lean into it, right? But we're kind of like that, I try to position us as the bridge between procurement and technology, right?
Yeah.
So we want to have those discussions before procurement's even involved.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about the kind of enterprise leaders or, for even anyone in on the customer side that is not familiar with the trusted advisor channel? We have come across a couple that are like, yeah, we don't know what that is. How, are you experiencing that as well, or you think it's
I
pretty well known?
I think it's starting to become a little bit more mainstream. I don't have the stats, but maybe half the time I would say they've never worked with a firm like ours. The other half they're like, oh yeah, yeah, we work with some company that did our like Verizon or telecom stuff, right? So, and
Yeah,
I that's what I say. I'm like, hey, well, that's where the model originated. It's matured over the last 2 decades. Like, now we have all these resources, vendors, right, engineering talent, and all that. So, yeah, I'd say half the time they haven't heard of the model, but I think that's a good thing, right? You're bringing something new and fresh to the table. It's not the same stuff that everybody else is talking about, right? All the big VARs and GSIs. And it's like, hey, dude, you're not paying me anything. You're not contracted with us. You don't even have to move forward with my ideas. But you know me, give me 15 minutes of your time.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's all I say. And they're like, yeah, kind of, here's 15 minutes, right? So
yeah,
um I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win-win to at least have the conversation, right? And our tagline, as cheesy as it sounds, but I've spent, months of PR, marketing, and AI, and I'm just gonna go with it, even though it's kind of cheesy. It's like, hey, no contracts, no fees, no brainers, right? If
yeah,
if you don't have to pay us anything and you're not obligated to move forward with anything, but if we come in with these X amount of engineers to help you get to that future state with a couple ideas that you're probably not considering, like why wouldn't you have a conversation with us, right?
yeah. Totally makes
And they're
sense.
like, that makes sense. Let's have a conversation, right? So, yeah, and I say once you get past that, yeah, you talk to them about the model, right? And then it resonates. It does make sense, right? Once you actually articulate the model,
Yeah.
the best way you know how to.
Yeah, peer-to-peer selling. I mean, that's basically where it's at. People word of mouth. Word of mouth has always been the strongest, right? But
Oh yeah,
that's where we find a lot of value in the channel. It's that especially with security, when people are buying security, it's the rare security professional that's, been doing it for a while that's going to say, "Oh, let me go on Google and find,
yeah.
I need a, I don't know, a security consultant. Let me find someone on Google." Doesn't work that way. They're asking their network. They're saying, "Hey, do you guys know anyone that does X? Whatever it is." So
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
yeah,
Agreed. Yeah, we're aligned there, but
yeah. So, do you have any like personal stories about cyber, like, something that has had a direct impact on your life, or even in business where getting into cyber uh, has been kind of a path for you?
yeah, I mean, just get out there, right? when I made the shift in my head, I go, hey, I'm gonna go build this right full time. I'm gonna do this. I did it. I really didn't know many people, right? I just went to the events. I started meeting people, building relationships, and not even really pitching, right? Just really building that relationship. Like, hey, well, what's the name of your company? SecureX. Okay, cool. I'm like, yeah, we're a cybersecurity consulting firm. That's what we do, right? A security first consulting firm. Oh, cool, cool, right? You don't have to pitch people immediately. I've seen some of the other kind of podcasts, and everybody talks about relationship building. I mean, it's the truth, right? You got to
Mhm,
meet people, you got to get to know them, right? You got
mhm.
to understand what makes what their priorities are, both on a professional and personal level, right? And if you can help them both, not just professionally but personally, I think you got them, right? You got them because I
Yeah,
think they see that hey, you're not just trying to make a sell. You want that relationship. You want to help them grow as an individual, not as a CISO or a CIO, right? But
right.
just going to the events, meeting folks, building relationships, adding value to these people, whether that's helping them find a job, right, or helping them with speaking engagements, right, or helping connect them with other like-minded folks, right.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I try to do that face to face a lot because I try to really get to know who this person is as a human first, and then I understand what their professional goals are.
Yeah, but what got you here? What got you to even starting in, tech and then, kinda making the jump over to cyber?
Yeah, so I saw the writing on the wall, right? So, like I said, I was in enterprise infrastructure my whole career on the networking and cloud side, and just everybody was talking about security, right? That
Yep.
line between network security, information security is now it's a blended line with SASE, with zero trust, ZTNA. The same guys you're selling to from a telecom and networking standpoint are now having those preliminary network security discussions that are all part of that whole infosec kind of umbrella, right? So, it's an easier conversation to have now because, like I said, the guys you're talking to are the ones with the firewalls, right? Are the ones talking SASE and zero trust. Like, how do you secure your remote workers, right? So I just saw the writing on the wall, right?
Mm,
Big companies like Palo, right? Like Zscaler, like companies coming that were exploding, acquiring a ton of M&A, right? Just SD-WAN. You name the SD-WAN companies that we were all selling 5 years ago. They all got gobbled up by large cybersecurity companies, right? And
really.
you just see the writing on the wall. And like I said, I love change, right? I actually thrive in change. I can't stay still. So when I see something that's hot, right, and shows some legs, and then I see my customers gravitating towards that, right? My big clients are like, hey, yeah, we're looking into this, we're considering it. That's when I'm going to start looking at it and considering it as well. So when my customers are the ones having these discussions, for me, that's an indicator that I should probably lean in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what about you personally? What are you doing, what do you do outside of work?
What I'm most proud of is being a good dad and a good husband. That's really what I'm most proud of, right? I love my family. I travel frequently. They give me life. They drive my purpose. And I'm right now obsessing right now over this idea of like time, just time in general. And I'm getting older, right? So I'm like, shit. I'm like, crap. I don't have as much time as.
Hey, we accept, swear words on this
Okay, sorry.
podcast.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not this young chicken anymore, right? So I'm literally obsessing with guarding my time and investing my time in the right revenue generating or things that fill me, right?
Yeah,
So personally, I'm how can I 10x what I'm doing? How can I be more efficient? Right? How can I bring people on that are going to help me kind of grow? And I want to do what I like at this point, right? So like year one, it was all about building the brand, building the company. Year two is like expansion, right? And now I got to worry about something I never worried about before is client retention and churn, right? Something I did not have to worry about.
oh,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, we got to take care of our clients. You can't just sell them and move forward, right? You got to take care of them. So bringing on the right people to kind of do that. We're focused on that. But listen, like I say, and I even talk about this in my meetings when I'm meeting a new CIO. It's like, listen, dude, we can save you money. Like I'm not worried about that. But what I'm most proud of is being able to give you 6 months of your life back, right? When
Right.
you're evaluating tools, because at the end of the day, money comes and go, but you're not going to get your time back. So if I can save you 90% of headaches and timing when you're evaluating all of these tools and technology, does that make sense? And they're like, yeah, that does make sense. I'm like, listen, we're all overworked and underpaid. I don't care who you are, right? What you're doing. Like you're working your buns off right now to try to get to where you need to get. If there's a way I can help you get there faster and cheaper and probably better than if you do it on your own, like why wouldn't you have that conversation with us, right?
Oh yeah.
So this whole concept of time, I think in the channel, I think we should be pitching that a lot more. It's not just the money, which the money is going to always be there, and that's important, right? That's the ROI. But it's like, dude, you're running a million miles an hour. You have a team of 50. You have whatever. I think the average enterprise has 70 something security tools,
Oh god, yeah.
right? It's
It's
like
ridiculous.
you're running a million miles an hour. What if I can give you back, I don't know, 3 hours a week of your time?
Yeah,
And
huge.
I don't know if that's the right number because I have to see what they're doing. But what if I can give you back that time? Like, what would you do, right? Would you strategize, right? Would you spend time with your kids? So positioning the time back, right? That time suck. Let me give you
Yeah,
your time back, right?
yeah,
We've been doing this for a long time. I care about you. I care about people. Like I'm not here to sell you anything. I want to help. I think goes a long way. So
yeah,
that's what I'm like really obsessing with for next year is automation, right? And getting my time back and giving our clients their time back. And I think that
yeah,
we're gonna have an awesome. I know we're gonna have an awesome year.
yeah, 26. Definitely looking forward to 26, but you need your time back with 5 women at home,
Yeah. My kids are asking for a dog here for Christmas. I'm like, hell no.
oh my gosh.
I don't want
Well,
I don't want anything that requires attention. I don't want a dog. I don't want a plant. I don't want anything else.
yeah, you got 4 or 5 humans you're taking care of. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Even though a dog does give back sometimes more than it takes. That's what I
I
would
have heard of
say.
that, but it's funny. Everybody says get a dog, and then but I'm like, hey, should I get a dog? They say no, but once you do, you're gonna love them. And
Right. Oh,
but should
yeah.
I get one? They're like, no, don't get it.
Yeah.
But I love my dog.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm
I
not
can
gonna do it,
attest.
man. I'm good. I'm
I
pretty
don't
good.
have a dog now, and my kids are trying to convince me to get a dog. I would love to get a dog, but same thing. It's like I travel too much, etcetera. But if a dog showed up, I know I'd be happy as hell.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I agree.
cool. Well, where can people connect with you?
Yeah. So website. So securexnow.com. That's going to be changing next year as well. But for now, that's the website, or just on LinkedIn, right? Look me up, Victor W Cardona. I've recently closed all the other social platforms except X, but I closed Facebook and Instagram. I'm done with it. I don't have time to be scrolling anymore.
Yeah,
So, but
seriously.
yeah, LinkedIn or my website for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Victor Cardona. It's been great talking about your life, your strategy, and how you're winning right now with security. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Lou, it was an honor, brother. Much love, and I'm rooting for you too in 26. So if I can help, I got your back.
Yeah, thanks. We'll definitely be working together in 26 and beyond. Thanks to everyone that is watching or listening. If you learned something today or had a good time, please tell someone about this podcast. Thanks again, Victor. And this has been another exciting episode of Channel Security Secrets. See you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of Channel Security Secrets. Thanks for tuning in. For show notes, guest info, and more episodes, visit us at channelsecuritysecrets.com. Channel Security Secrets is sponsored by Cyber Defense Group. When it comes to protecting your business, don't settle for reactive. Partner with experts who build resilience from the ground up.